Oh my god, man, did you see Ret Paladin and Dragonflight? It absolutely is. No, it's shit, and we have to talk about it because this is very serious, okay? I've been waiting, man. I've been hoping a lot since the first video we did on Alpha about Ret Paladin. I've been patiently waiting and hoping for something, anything that would be good, that would give us a little bit of a movement towards the right direction. But we're at the point where they did say that they don't want to do major changes to talents anymore, just tuning and maybe some swapping arounds, and we also have the tier sets. Now, this video has been made in part with the help of Bolas from the Hammer of Red Discord. I myself am a Ret Paladin main on and off since like forever, Burning Crusade at least. Do decently high mythic keys, mythic rating and all of that, and did also like heroic and normal and all of that. So I will be very opinionated on this, as opposed to like maybe other different specs. This one spec is close to my heart, and we have to talk about shit, okay? So, let's get into it. Now, we're not going to go too much into the general Paladin talent trees, and not even the whole general Ret Paladin talent trees. I'm guessing by now people who are interested about the talents are kind of aware. Sure, I'm going to touch on a couple of things because I think they're important. Specifically, let's say on the general Paladin talent trees, you have the Hallowed Ground, which is like super far to the right, and you may want to sacrifice this over other throughput talents from down to get Aspirations of Divinity, which you could have 100% uptime on it, Crusader Strike, you know, being on a 6-second cooldown and hasted. But as Bolas mentioned, uptime isn't the greatest metric to use for this since the stacks overlap. You basically get 6 seconds of the boss every time Crusader Strike regardless. The Sacrifice of Utility is massive, especially since we don't have Blessing of Spell Warding anymore. But it was questionable, at least with the build I made, because I couldn't take Blinding Light or Cleanse Toxins, where at least Cleanse Toxins, remember, used to be baseline, or Recompense, which comes down from Sacrifice and can help you help the tank and deal more damage at the same time. There's the general problem of the Paladin talent tree is that it's overloaded with throughput. We'll get to that later in the video. Now, in terms of like the spec talents, there have been a couple of changes since we did our last video. First of all, you know, everybody was taken by surprise to the nerf to Art of War, and now we know this was because of the tier set, but it doesn't negate the fact that it will affect Ashes to Dust, and maybe Radiant Decree will find some play, but as it stands, Radiant Decree feels shit. Just starting out from the top late, you have the improved Crusader Strike and improved Judgment. Those were swapped around and added some more arrows, so you can skip some of them. I guess having more paths and ways to like go from left to right is always a good thing. I guess that's a positive. Since last time, we did get Divine Protection. It has been placed with Shield of Vengeance as a choice node. 2-minute cooldown though. Imperium Power was moved to the left-hand side. And this one felt a little bit weird because it's just it blocks the entries to Righteous Verdict, and this goes into this whole idea where some people vibe with this. Actually, it's like, okay, you cannot really have 100% single target or 100% AoE or cleave. It's very good to have a mix of both. And traditionally, at least for Red, when that was the case, when you had a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it was fucked up for everything. So I don't really agree with that. Sanctify is more accessible, and that's not a huge shock because they really want you to play that Consecration, man. The judgment buffs, you know, High Lord Judgment and Boundless Judgment are to the far left. Relentless Inquisitor is now on the left side, close to the capstone. Executioner Sentence is moved here now down from the middle. The capstones for this are choice node to make Executioner Sentence even better in single target with Executioner's Will, or do a bit of AoE with Executioner's Wrath. This was one talent I liked. I loved the Season 1 and 2 1-minute build with Execution Sentence and Final Reckoning. Having a Execution Sentence that will also do some AoE damage sounded really cool. The idea is really nice. We'll just have to see after tuning how it looks. you have the Avenging Red Might versus Crusade. You can now the most important thing is that everybody calm their tits because the Crusade is 2-minute cooldowns. There was a bug on the alpha and beta. There's always a bug with this on every new expansion alpha and beta. It's always 3 minutes. It's down to 2 minutes. Calm down. Avenging Wrath might be the play in some capacities if you get to have your execution sentence crit. It should crit, but now on the beta it doesn't, so we'll see. But apart from that, Crusade wins the fight hands down in almost every scenario. The tier set Ashes to Ashes is now in the middle, and it breaks into 3 other nodes. You have the Divine Toll to the left with Divine Resonance Capstone. Still no goddamn ringing clarity. This is so bad. I've touched this on the first Ret Paladin video. This doesn't work with that. Imperial Legacy is in the middle. Well, this is somehow the Necrolord current ability, which again I wasn't really the biggest fan of. I can see it work, but the tuning has to be there 100%. Yeah, and on the right side you have the Virtuous Command Conduit. This is pretty known. This is pretty useful in single target, and the capstone Final Reckoning. And Final Reckoning, you know, it's one of those. I always love this talent since its inception in Shadowlands. As I've said, it enabled the 1-minute build in season 1 and 2, and it was really awesome. I love the opener sequence, making sure everything is right, and it felt good to not just be this 2-minute gigabursty spec and be a little bit more reliable on a 1-minute availability for cooldowns. But this did imply Divine Toll having Divine Resonance with Ringing Clarity Conduit, which is not the case anymore. So, on the right side, we also have the choice node of Zeal versus Fire of Justice. I mean, okay, sure, but I can see why Zeal is there, because you would have like Tempest of the Lightbringer close by, and it will enable some AoE capacity. Sure, I get that. On the other hand, you have Fires of Justice, which wasn't really that popular to begin with. I guess you can make an argument to have like good AoE cleave, something that is a little bit good overall. I don't know, it feels weird. Closer to the end now, you have Templar's Vindication, again single target conduit from life, and this continues to Final Verdict, which was nerfed a little. Well, it nerfed the chance of resetting the cooldown of Hammer of Wrath from 15% to 10%. Then at the end you have Vanguard's Momentum at the capstone. This we already know. This is the legendary from life that gives you 1 extra hammer charge and a little bit of holy damage included. Right. So conclusions, because there's a lot to talk about here. Okay. Truth is, there was little to no improvement on the Ret Paladin tree whatsoever. There's no actual hint of the devs paying attention to feedback, not to mention the absolute zero communication on why, what, or how when developing Ret Paladin. It's very frustrating. It's hard to feedback when you don't know the intentions, the philosophy, the vision behind what they're developing. Justicar Vengeance is still there. This has been a dead talent for like 6 years. They still want to push it. Oh, it costs 3 holy powers now. Yay! Might versus Crusade, the argument there, I think I touched on this already. Crusade is just the better value in almost all situations. If execution sentence will crit it, you want to go for that like giga single target build, maybe Might will be a thing, but now it doesn't crit. On beta, it doesn't crit. I've tested it, it does not crit. So currently, we're still going for Crusade. Ashes to Dust was already, this was the tier set, right? So Ashes to Dust was already nerfed right from the get-go to 35%, okay? Now with the Blade of Wrath nerfs, it's even weaker and less appealing. So you basically have the tier set over there, but on a much weaker state than what you're currently accustomed to on live in Season 4. The tier set confirms this uncommunicated and very aggressive push towards Consecration. I mean, this is like, play Consecration or else. This is, man, when you see that, it kind of defeats the purpose of like talent points, enabling you to customize your spec, doesn't it? The two tier set buffs, Crusader Strike and Consecration. And oh my god, out of all of the Ret Paladin abilities, you choose Crusader Strike, which is like the lowest hitting ability out of them all, probably in the game. In order for that to work, it would need like giga buffs. And you gotta understand, Crusader Strike was never used to like for its damage, or that was a purely a holy power generator. That's why you would use it. It boggles my mind why they would do this. 4 set buffs, Blade of Justice, and again, it's kind of beating the purpose on what they stated on the blue post regarding the tier set philosophy, because it's pretty likely you would go for Expurgation and Sealed Verdict, although I talked with Bolus about this. Tuning on Expurgation is ridiculous. Expurgation right now is a lot worse than the conduit we have right now in Shadowlands, and it's going to be very hard to tune these, like have the tier set, the Expurgation talent, and Sealed Verdict, to have it work, like to not be overpowered, to have it decent without the set, but to not be overpowered with the set. It's gonna be a nightmare. It's a mess, man, I'm telling you. What else? Divine Protection. We asked for this and we got it. I think this is like the only thing. It kind of showed that they were actually reading or listening or watching whatever, you know, people were saying. So we got Divine Protection back, but it's on a 2-minute cooldown. It used to be on a 1-minute cooldown when back in the day when Red Paladins had it. It is on a 1-minute cooldown for Holy Paladins. Has to be on a 2-minute for a very squishy plate wearer, mind you. Okay, so it just feels bad. It was like, okay, we're giving you this, but half-baked. Enjoy. That being said, Red Paladins have no raid utility, have very poor defensives. We still have the Steed. Granted, it's 3 point now, not 4, but still there. I would still call it mobility. You are left with this Consecration gameplay, which some people really enjoy. I see a lot of people not enjoying it. I can see it. I can see myself playing it, but it have to be on a whole different level, not how they wanted to make it work here. But you can go for the playstyle of Season 1 and 2 Red with the 1-minute build. It's just gonna be the shittier version and weaker. Or you can go for the Season 4 Red right now with the procs and the tier set and all that. But that's also weaker and shittier. Or you can go for their push on playing Consecration and probably Blade of Wrath. This is where we are right now. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel good. No, it feels very bad. It doesn't feel good. There's also the issue of the Paladin talent tree, man. It's overloaded with throughput. This just kills any way of Red Paladins being able to customize their utility or whatever, okay? You're a DPS as a Red Paladin. When you see all this throughput over there, you want that to perform in the environment you're in. This is it. This is an issue. Priest had this issue as well, and Public made a huge video about that. When you have this amount of throughput on the general Paladin talent tree, it's gonna be a nightmare. And you go for that. And you still have to this is the problem. When that's so much, you still have to sacrifice some to get, I don't know, basic, you know, quality of life things like, you know, cleanse toxins or whatever. It's not good. Now, I also want to touch on this. People tend to be in awe about the Red Paladin damage currently on the beta. And I do want to make 2 things clear regarding that. 1, the giga damage you see on Red Paladins on streams and on videos in beta is because of the Retribution or a bug, where you would have the Seraphim proc go on and on and on, like forever, granting you lots of versatility. That's 1. And 2nd, tuning is not there. You have to understand. You think it's normal that a Boomkin does 150k DPS while a Frost Decay is competing with a protection a warrior on damage, tuning is not there, my boys. And listen, be very afraid of tuning as a Ret Paladin. I know, I've been there in all of the phases, betas and alphas and shit. Traditionally, 95% of the cases, Ret Paladins will be tuned to be middle of the pack. So don't get your hopes up in regards to this giga damage. I can almost guarantee sign somewhere it will not be the case. So that being said, this is Ret Paladin is in a bad state. I think this is probably the first expansion where I will not main it anymore because I just do not like where they're going with it. I do not like the fact that this is probably the only spec, maybe there's another, I don't know, that hasn't received any form of information, anything, no replies to feedback, no intent on what they're doing, nothing. There was just the change behind removing the long arm of the law, which was bullshit in my eyes, and why they see that it's more fit for a paladin to stay on a fucking pony. That's it. Other than that, I haven't seen also the consecration thing where you would be overloaded with holy power. Sure, I see a lot of people liking that. I don't see why you would like to have an overload of resource. Feels like, you know, you're missing out. I would much rather have a more strategic, more planned out gameplay where you would manage your resources, not just be overloaded with it. But that's just me. Conclusion, you heard him. It's bad. I don't like it. Sorry this has been super negative, but this was my main for everything and I got a little bit emotional. But I hope you enjoyed the video and I'm very curious on what you think. So let me know in the comments what's up with Ret Paladins. Thank you Patrons for supporting all of our content. It means the world to us. You can join the Patreon club by checking the link in the description. And if you want to get more details on the general Paladin talent trees, there will be the link to the Prot Paladin video in the description as well. Thank you all. God save Paladins. Bye-bye.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.